If you're a musician that uses pedals and effects, then you know one of the funnest things you can do is to combine them and stack them in different orders to get cool results. I've got my own favorites, and in this video, I'm going to show you what I think are the 5 coolest ways to combine effects. Pro tip number 1 is the sound of echoes going into a fuzz, especially if it's like a sputtery fuzz. Sending echoes into it just to get mangled can like drive up the sputteriness of the fuzz in a way that's cool. So for the example you're about to hear, I'm using the Benson Deep Sea Diver Fuzz Echo. This is a collaboration between Benson and the band Deep Sea Diver. It's a fuzz and an echo in one unit. You can put the echo before or after the fuzz, but the instruction manual says, and I agree, that putting echo first sounds better. This is what it sounds like. Another closely related sound to that, in my mind, is the sound of a spring reverb getting sent into dirt. So for what you're about to hear, the track starts out with my Vongon replay synth going into a spring reverb. It's the spring reverb from Echo Fix, and then this has to get sent into dirt. So that's going into the Benson Preamp. And you're going to hear the result. The spring reverb gets like sort of ruined by the dirt, but in a good way. It like produces these spooky kind of feedback tones, but it's like more unusual than feedback. You're going to hear that, and then I bring in the Benson Deep Sea Diver Fuzz Echo to play a guitar solo. By the way, if you want to buy any of the gear in this video, I have affiliate links you can use that'll give me a small commission on anything you buy. I'll put the affiliate links in the video description. Money. Pro tip number 2 is vibrato and EQ. Specifically EQ that's being used as a low-pass filter, or like a filter that takes off your highs and just leaves everything else. Vibrato by itself can have a very sort of like melancholy sound. At least that's like my emotional relationship with vibrato. But if you take that sadness and then chop off some of the treble, it just makes it sound that much more damaged. It's like an old photograph that has been faded a little bit. So I like to put the vibrato first and the EQ second. The other nice thing about that is that if your vibrato is noisy, the EQ can like eliminate some of the hissiness of the noise. In the example you're about to hear, I'm using the Boss CE3 in vibrato mode, and my EQ is the Long Life from Fairfield Circuitry. This EQ can do a lot of different things, but in the example you're about to hear, I'm just using it to cut my treble. For pro tip number 3, I want to talk about sending ring modulation into overdrive. Now, ring modulation by itself sounds gnarly. But if you use just a little bit of it, if you take a ring modulator and just get the smallest dose, like with mix very low, and then you send that into some kind of dirt, it'll add a lot of attitude to your guitar solo. So for the example you're about to hear, my ring modulator is the Randy's Revenge from Fairfield Circuitry. And my overdrive, there is no overdrive. I'm just using the Strymon Iridium as my amp. The only dirt I'm getting is the dirt that's built into this, except that the Randy's Revenge does have a volume knob on it, and I had that cranked. So this was kind of my overdrive too. But the point is that what you're about to hear, the guitar solo I'm about to play, my guitar tone is just these two pedals. By the way, if you clicked on this video hoping I was going to talk about gain staging and different ways to balance overdrives and distortions and boosts and your amp against each other, I have a whole separate video where that's the only thing I talk about. That video is called Overdrive and Distortion, How to Be Creative. In this video, I'm talking about pedal combinations that have less to do with ramping gain up and down and more to do with just off-the-wall effects. Pro tip number 4 is sending a pitch shifter into a tremolo. And the idea here is that the pitch shifter kind of makes your guitar sound like a synthesizer, and then the tremolo absolutely makes your guitar sound like a synthesizer. So in the example you're about to hear, my pitch shifter is the Syntax Air from Alexander Pedals. I have this set to perfect fifths, and it sounds like this. Now, I already love that. I would use that by itself. But for this example, I'm sending it into the Strymon Mobius. This is my tremolo. The thing I love about the Mobius is that it has a tremolo wave shape called pulse. It's very abrupt. It's one of my favorites. It turns what you just heard into this. Pro tip number 5 is the combination of bit crushing and reverb. And what I really mean by bit crushing is sample rate reduction. But the point is, to me, sample rate reduction or aliasing or bit crushing is like a texture. Like it creates a sound that like I could almost touch. It's like it's this noisy, it's like a noisy fabric that like you could like put your fingers on and it would be like touching like a digital sweater that's coming apart. I can't really explain why that's what it means to me, but that's what it means to me. And since there's something tactile about it, then putting reverb on that just adds like even more dimension and even more information to the texture. So for the example you're about to hear, I'm using the Prismatic Wall from Electronic Audio Experiments to create both effects. This is a reverb that is very resonant. Like the whole thing it does is that it like creates these ultra resonant reverberations. But if you turn the tune knob down far enough, it'll start to alias. It'll start to do like sample rate, bit crushy reduction stuff. while also still producing the highly resonant reverberations. Anyway, the reason I like it is that if you set it that way, it can make your guitar sound like a xylophone almost.